She never knew who her father was, until she found him crying at her mother's grave. In a wheelchair, with a broken past and a scarred heart, she thought she was alone in this world. But a voice from the shadows whispered a secret. You were never abandoned. You were hidden to be protected. What happens when the fire that destroyed your family reignites the truth? This is not just a story. It's a piece of someone's hidden pain, quietly waiting to be heard. In today's story, we dive into a moment that can change everything, in the most unexpected way. Before we begin, where are you listening from? Canada? The US? Norway? Let us know in the comments, because stories may begin anywhere, but they connect us all. Stay with us until the very end, because sometimes, what breaks your heart can also heal it. And if you believe stories can change lives, hit subscribe. Join our journey. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment. Your voice matters here. The rain fell like whispers from heaven. Soft, sorrowful, persistent. In the heart of a forgotten cemetery just outside of a quiet town in Maine, a young girl sat beside a moss-covered grave. Her wheelchair left deep tracks in the wet soil, and her trembling fingers gripped a folded piece of paper, a letter she had never dared to open until now. The name on the grave was one she had whispered to herself every night for years: Angela Rose Carter. Her mother, her everything. Gone 3 weeks ago, stolen by cancer that crept like a thief in the night. And now, at 16, Amelia Carter sat alone, orphaned, rain, soaked, and anchored to a chair she had come to hate after the accident. But today wasn't about pain in her legs or the silence in their small apartment. It was about the letter. She finally unfolded it, the paper shaky and damp from her tears. Her mother's handwriting, curved and careful, looked like something from another world. My sweet Amelia, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. I wish I had more time. I wish I could have told you sooner. There is someone you need to meet. He was the first man I ever truly loved, and he's the reason you have your deep brown eyes. His name is William Grayson. He's your father. The name hit her like thunder. He doesn't know about you. He doesn't even know I kept you. Amelia's lips parted, but no sound came out. I wanted to protect you from pain, but maybe I just stole something precious from you. If fate is kind, you'll find him. He lives in this town. He always did. Maybe he still goes to the place we promised we'd return to. I'm sorry, Amelia. I love you more than words will ever say. She lowered the letter, heart racing, thunder roaring above her like the sky itself had heard the truth. And then, footsteps. Heavy, hesitant footsteps crunching against wet gravel. She looked up. A tall man in a long black coat stood just a few feet away, holding a bouquet of lilies. His eyes were locked on the same grave. And in those eyes, she saw something that mirrored her own loss, regret, longing, and something else. Something she didn't understand yet. Something waiting to be discovered. The cold breeze licked the back of Amelia's neck as the stranger approached, his polished shoes crunching softly over the wet gravel path. His steps were slow, almost reverent, and the lilies in his hand swayed slightly with each movement. Amelia's eyes, wide and blinking against the drizzle, remained fixed on him. Something in her chest ached. Not fear, not quite hope, something unfamiliar. He stopped a few paces from the grave, his gaze still locked on the headstone. Noticing her presence at last, he tilted his head slightly and offered a quiet, apologetic nod. I'm sorry, he said, voice low, coarse. I didn't know someone else would be here. His eyes dropped to the wheelchair. His mouth tightened as though he wanted to say more but chose silence instead. Amelia's fingers curled around the letter still resting in her lap. The ink was smudged now, her mother's words nearly blurred away by rain and emotion. Her voice came out small and unsure. Did you know her? He blinked, startled by the question. Then his gaze drifted back to the gravestone, lingering on the carved name Angela Rose Carter. Yes, he said finally. A long time ago. His words struck her like a distant bell, low, heavy, undeniable. She didn't know what she expected, but it wasn't this a tall, well-dressed man with sad eyes and graying at his temples. She had imagined someone colder. Older, maybe angry. Not this man who looked like he'd buried more than just a memory. I'm her daughter, she said, voice trembling. He turned to her again, slowly this time. Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, surprise, maybe fear. She couldn't read it all. I didn't know she had a daughter, he said softly, almost to himself. Amelia hesitated. The truth pressed at her chest like a weight. She told me about you, she whispered. Today, he stared. About me? She nodded and lifted the letter from her lap, holding it out. Her hands trembled as he took it. She watched his fingers pause at the fold, hesitant as if the paper might burn him. Then slowly, carefully, he read. His jaw clenched. His eyes scanned the page twice, maybe 3 times. When he finished, he didn't speak. The wind picked up, whistling through the trees behind them. She thought she saw his shoulders shake slightly, but maybe it was just the cold. You're Amelia, he said finally. She nodded. Yes. And you've been in a wheelchair for? 3 years, she answered before he finished. Car accident. A drunk driver ran through a red light. We got hit crossing the street. She could still hear the screech of tires, the crunch of metal, her mother's screams. And then silence. Bone-deep silence. "I'm sorry," he said, and the way he said it, raw and broken, made her look at him again. "You didn't know," she murmured, almost accusingly, not even sure who she was trying to blame. "No," he said. "She never told me she had a child. Not once." Amelia studied his face. She could see it now. Faint lines around the eyes, the same slight arch to the brow. His hair, though darker than hers, had the same wave at the temple. Her chest tightened. Could it be true? "Why didn't she tell you?" she asked. He shook his head slowly. "I don't know. We ended badly. I left. I thought I had to. I was building a company across the country, and your mother, she was tired of waiting. I thought she'd moved on." "So did I," Amelia whispered. Until today. They both sat in silence, the grave between them, the truth still settling like fog. Finally, he crouched down so his eyes met hers at her level. "May I see you again?" he asked. "I know this is a lot. I don't even know how to explain it. But if what she wrote is true." "It is," she said. "I have pictures, stories. She told me everything else, just not about you. Not until the end. I'd like to get to know you," he said. A small piece of her heart, still bleeding from her mother's death, ached at the idea. But another part, the part that sat awake at night wondering why her life felt so incomplete, began to stir. "Okay," she said, her voice barely audible. He smiled, though his eyes remained clouded. "Would tomorrow be all right?" She nodded again, stunned. He stood, placed the lilies on the grave gently, and looked at the stone one last time. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Just as he disappeared beyond the wrought iron gate, Amelia's phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. "Stay away from William Grayson. You have no idea what he's done." The message on Amelia's screen burned through her chest like wildfire. "Stay away from William Grayson. You have no idea what he's done." The words echoed in her mind as the rain continued to fall, now soft and thin like a sigh from the sky. Her fingers hovered over the screen, trembling. No name, no number. Just a faceless warning from someone who knew something she didn't. Her breath caught. What had he done? Her mother's letter still rested in her lap. The words inside spoke of love, of pain, of regret, but not of danger. She wanted to believe her mother wouldn't lie. Not now, not in her final hours. But then again, her mother had kept him secret for 16 years. Amelia's chest tightened. She wheeled herself back through the cemetery gate, her mind spinning with questions. The path home was bumpy and wet, but her fingers moved out of habit. Through the rusting iron fence, past the old chapel, and down the cracked sidewalk leading to the bus stop. Her mind wasn't here. It was back at the grave, still staring into the eyes of a man who claimed to be her father. William Grayson. The name echoed through the town like something sacred and distant. Even before she read the letter, she'd heard whispers. A tech entrepreneur who had once lived in town but vanished into wealth and headlines. His mansion sat on the edge of Willow Ridge, behind stone walls and iron gates. A modern palace no one ever entered. And now, somehow, that man was her father. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. "This isn't about you. But if you get too close, you'll get hurt." That one felt colder, calculated. She locked the phone and shoved it deep into her coat pocket, determined to shut out the noise. The wind howled louder now, lifting the ends of her dark hair and carrying the scent of wet leaves and old stone. As she waited for the bus, she tried to slow her thoughts. She wanted answers. She needed them. And maybe he was the only one who could give them. The next morning came like a whisper. Pale sunlight spilled through the curtains of the tiny apartment she had once shared with her mother. Now it felt like a museum, too quiet, too preserved. The air still smelled faintly of lavender and hospital soap. Amelia sat at the kitchen table, staring at the letter again, reading the same words for the 12th time. Her fingers traced the line, "He doesn't even know I kept you." The knock at the door was soft but sure. She froze. Was it him? Her heart raced as she wheeled herself forward and opened it. William stood in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I wasn't sure what you liked," he said. "I brought both." She stared at him. Something in his presence felt strangely comforting, yet terrifying, like a photograph come to life. She stepped aside silently. The room swallowed him whole. He looked around, respectfully quiet, as if sensing the weight of grief still clinging to the air. "I remember this place," he said softly. "She lived here even back then." "You've been here before?" Amelia asked, her voice cautious. He nodded, setting the cups on the table. "Once. A long time ago." She eyed him. "Why didn't you come back?" His lips pressed together. "Because I thought she didn't want me to. And maybe I didn't know how." They sat across from each other, the silence thick and vulnerable. "Why did you leave her?" she finally asked. William's gaze dropped to his coffee. "I was young, hungry, obsessed with building something that would last. And I thought love could wait." And he looked at her then, his eyes clear, reflective. But some things they don't wait. Amelia felt the sting of those words in her chest. She thought of her mother crying quietly at night, of how she always changed the subject when Amelia asked about her father. Maybe this was why. "I got a text," she said suddenly. He looked up. "A warning. Telling me to stay away from you." His eyes narrowed, but only for a moment. "From who? I don't know. May I see it?" She hesitated, then handed over the phone. His brow furrowed as he read. "This is a burner. Untraceable." He handed it back. "Someone's trying to scare you? Should I be scared?" William leaned forward, his voice lower, steady. "No. But there are people who don't want me to be happy. Who don't want me to have this." She swallowed hard. "What aren't you telling me?" He paused. His face softened. Something weighed heavily on his mind. But before he could speak, a loud knock interrupted them. They both turned toward the door. Amelia wheeled herself to it cautiously and opened it to find a delivery man holding a large envelope. "For Amelia Carter," he said, then left without another word. She stared at the envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, typed, cold. "You want to know the truth? Ask him about the fire. Ask him what happened to the other girl." Amelia's hands went cold. She turned to face William. And he was already standing, rigid, pale, his eyes on the paper. "Who's the other girl?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. William didn't answer. William Grayson's expression had shifted from warmth to something distant, hollow. Amelia saw it immediately, the way his eyes lost focus, as if suddenly staring into a part of the world only he could see. The paper trembled slightly in her lap as she read it again. "You want to know the truth? Ask him about the fire. Ask him what happened to the other girl." The words sliced through the stillness of the room. She studied him closely. "Who was she?" Silence. His jaw tensed. "That doesn't concern you." Wrong answer. Amelia's spine straightened. "It concerns me if you're my father. If you're walking into my life carrying secrets and strangers are warning me to stay away." He looked at her then. Really looked at her. "I never wanted to bring this to your doorstep. But it's already here." He sighed and slowly took the chair across from her again. The moment dragged like a heavy breath. I was 24. Just out of grad school. Angela and I were inseparable, but we were also young and reckless. She was living with a roommate then. Someone I didn't like. Her name was Clarissa. The name landed like ash. She was different, wild, dangerous in the way people find exciting until it turns destructive. Amelia held her breath. One night, Angela called me crying. Clarissa had gotten into trouble with a man, someone dangerous. She begged Angela to hide her. That night, the house caught fire. Angela barely made it out alive, but Clarissa, they never found her body. Amelia's lips parted slightly. "What do you mean, never found?" "Just gone," William said. "The fire consumed everything. Police suspected arson, but there was no proof. No charges. It was declared an accident. Angela never talked about it again. She moved into this apartment right after." "And you?" she asked. "What did you do?" "I tried to protect her," he said. "I spent every dime I had to get her out of the legal mess. But I was angry. I blamed her for letting Clarissa into her life. I was selfish. I left for California 3 weeks later. The silence that followed was deafening. The memory hung in the air like smoke still drifting from that unseen fire." Amelia pressed her fingers against her temple, feeling the weight of it all. She had imagined her mother's past as hard but innocent, never twisted by tragedy. She never pictured secrets sealed beneath ash and grief. "Do you think Clarissa died?" she asked finally. William nodded slowly. "I did until I got this." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a worn envelope, carefully sliding out a photograph. It was dated 3 months ago, blurred but unmistakable. A woman, black jacket, hood pulled up, face turned only partially toward the camera. But it was her eyes that froze Amelia cold, wild, wide, familiar. "She's alive," Amelia whispered. "I think so. And I think someone doesn't want me to find her." She stared at the photo, heart pounding. "Why would someone send me the warning?" "Because they know I've found you," he said, his voice tight. "And they know that you matter to me now." The room seemed to shrink around them. A million questions spiraled through Amelia's head. Was Clarissa out there, watching, hiding? Did she know about her? About William? Was she the one sending the texts? A deep pit formed in Amelia's stomach. She remembered the tone of those messages, personal, almost desperate. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one made her blood run cold. "Don't trust what he says. He left us all to burn." Her hands trembled as she held it up to William. He stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he stood slowly and walked to the window, drawing the curtain back slightly. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I need to be sure we're not being watched," he muttered. The paranoia in his voice was real and contagious. Amelia's thoughts tangled like threads in her mind. If Clarissa was alive and blaming William for what happened, what would she do now that Amelia had entered the picture? William turned back to her. You shouldn't be here alone tonight. She tensed. Why? Because someone's already crossed a line by finding your number. And if they know where you live? They already do, Amelia whispered. The letter, the knock, the delivery. She was already being watched. William's eyes darkened. You're coming with me? I don't even know you, she said quietly. You could be lying about all of this. His face broke, just a little. Then I'll leave. But I'll have a security team outside your door by sundown. You'll be safe, whether you trust me or not. Before she could respond, another knock came, not soft this time. 3 sharp, deliberate bangs. They both froze. Amelia wheeled herself slowly toward the door and peeked through the peephole. No one. Just a single white envelope on the floor. She picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was an old, scorched photograph of her mother and a girl she'd never seen before. On the back, in smeared ink, ask him what really happened after the fire. As she looked up at William, his face had gone pale. Amelia stared at the scorched photograph like it might suddenly catch fire in her hands. The image was faded, but the figures were clear. Her mother, much younger, smiling softly at the camera. Her hand rested on the shoulder of another girl, blonde, thin, eyes full of fire and mischief. The other girl, Clarissa. William took the photo with slow, deliberate fingers. He held it in the light, his expression unreadable. This was taken just weeks before the fire, he muttered. Angela never showed me this. Amelia watched him closely. She looked happy. She was, William said, his voice almost wistful. But Clarissa wasn't just her roommate. They were like sisters. Angela felt responsible for her, even when she shouldn't have. He turned the photo over and read the smeared ink again. Ask him what really happened after the fire. His silence tightened the air between them. Well, Amelia asked, voice firm. What did happen after the fire? William didn't answer immediately. He paced the room instead, the floorboards creaking beneath his expensive shoes. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the window pane. It sounded like something trying to get in. Finally, he stopped. His eyes were darker now, like shadows had risen in them. I saw her. Amelia blinked. Who? Clarissa. He sank into the chair again, his shoulders heavy. Everyone thought she died. There were no remains found in the rubble. But days later I got a call, from a number I didn't recognize. I answered and heard her voice. He paused. She was alive. Angry, accusing me of setting the fire. She said I left her behind on purpose. Amelia stared. Did you? His jaw tightened. No, I was in the city when it happened. Angela called me crying, saying the house was gone. I rushed back, but by then the police were already there. They wouldn't let me near her or the scene. Did you tell them about the call? She asked. I did, but no one believed me. They said I was confused. Maybe I imagined it, grief, stress. But I know her voice. It was her. And after that, she vanished. I tried tracking the number, hiring private investigators, even offered a reward. Nothing. I assumed she was gone again. Hiding, or worse. Amelia looked down at the photo in her hand, at the jagged burn mark that sliced through Clarissa's face. Something about the image felt deliberate, like someone had scorched it to send a message. She thinks you left her to die, Amelia whispered. She's wrong, William said, louder than before. I may have made mistakes, but I didn't start that fire. Amelia wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Everything felt like puzzle pieces thrown into the air, each one falling somewhere unfamiliar. Why didn't my mother tell me about any of this? She asked. She always said our past was hard, but she made it sound like bad luck. Not trauma. William's eyes softened. She wanted to protect you, but from what? Her past or you? The silence answered more than words ever could. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed outside, like metal hitting metal. They both jumped. Amelia wheeled quickly to the window and peered through the blinds. Down by the street, a tall black car sat idling. Its windows were tinted too dark to see through, and the engine rumbled like a distant growl. She turned to William. Is that yours? He shook his head, rising to join her at the window. That's not mine. Her pulse quickened. As if sensing they'd been spotted, the car drove off slowly. Too slowly, its tires crunching against gravel as it vanished down the road. Okay. Amelia whispered. I need to get out of here. William didn't hesitate. Let's go. She grabbed her backpack, already half-packed from the night before, and followed him out the door. They moved quickly, quietly, and down the back stairwell. William's arm hovered protectively near her chair, though he never touched it. She noticed that, and strangely, she appreciated it. They loaded into his car, a sleek black sedan parked a block away. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe, he replied, and private. As they drove, Amelia stared out the window, the streets of Willowridge sliding by like old memories she never made. Her mother had walked these sidewalks. So had Clarissa. Now Amelia rolled through them like a ghost of both. I have to know more, she said after a while. Everything. I can't live in pieces anymore. William nodded slowly. Then I'll tell you everything. He pulled off the main road, onto a gravel driveway that wound through a small wooded area. At the end of the path stood a secluded house, modern, angular, with tall windows and stone pillars, surrounded by trees. Safe, quiet. But something about it felt too quiet. William parked the car and helped her out. As they moved toward the front steps, Amelia's phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, heart racing. One message, just 3 words. She's with you. Amelia looked around, eyes darting to the trees, the windows, the shadows creeping in the distance. And for the first time, she felt it. Someone was watching. The trees around the house swayed in the breeze like ancient sentinels, their branches creaking under the weight of secrets. Amelia sat frozen in her wheelchair at the base of the stone steps, phone gripped tightly in her hand, staring at the message. She's with you. William was already unlocking the door, unaware of the cold wave crashing through her chest. Amelia's breath came shallow. Her eyes scanned the shadows. Nothing moved, but it felt like something should have. William, she said quietly, her voice like a thread about to break. He turned, brow furrowed. What is it? She held up the phone, the screen still lit with the message. He stepped closer, read it, and stiffened. We need to get inside, he said firmly. I'm not going in there if she's already inside. She's not. Trust me, he said, scanning the woods with eyes sharp and wary. But trust was wearing thin. Amelia looked at the house, a fortress of glass and stone, and suddenly it didn't feel safe at all. It felt watched. The thick trees at the property's edge blurred into a curtain of green and shadow, too many places to hide. Reluctantly, she rolled forward. The door clicked open, and they stepped inside. The house was quiet, eerily so. Not cold, not hostile, just empty in a way that suggested it hadn't heard laughter in years. The foyer opened into a sprawling living room with high ceilings, tall windows, and furniture that looked too expensive to touch. Books lined the walls like armor. The place smelled faintly of cedar and distance. I've had this place for a while, William said as he closed the door behind them. It's where I go to disappear. Amelia rolled into the center of the room and looked around. Everything was too perfect. Like a hotel suite waiting for a guest that never came. I didn't know billionaires needed to disappear, she muttered. He gave her a ghost of a smile. We do, more than anyone. But she turned toward the large bay windows that overlooked the trees. The shadows between them danced in the late afternoon light. Her reflection in the glass looked smaller than she expected, frail even. Whoever's sending these messages, she began, they're close. Closer than we think. I know, he said, voice low. He stepped toward the bookshelves and pulled out a small black box, like a remote. With a click, the windows darkened, the lights dimmed, and a soft hum began in the walls. Security system, she asked. Top of the line. No one gets in or out without a dozen cameras catching it. Amelia turned her chair around. So what now? Do we just hide here while the past creeps up behind us? No, he said. We'll hunt it. She raised an eyebrow. Hunt her. I mean answers. The only way we get out of this is to understand what she wants. Amelia leaned forward. You said she called you once. What did she say exactly? He exhaled slowly and sat across from her. She said I abandoned her. That I knew she was in trouble and did nothing. That I could have saved her, but didn't. His fingers tapped the edge of the armrest. She was furious. But beneath it there was something else, fear. Desperation. You think she faked her death to escape? I think she faked her death because someone was hunting her, and she wanted the world to forget she existed. Amelia frowned. But then why contact you years later? William looked her in the eyes. Because she blamed me for it all, and because I knew the one person who might still protect her, Angela. Amelia felt a chill. Her mother's name hung in the air like a ghost. She imagined her mother receiving messages like this, looking over her shoulder in the dark, never saying a word. The doorbell rang. Both of them froze. The security monitor on the wall lit up with a live feed from the front step. No one was there, just a small black box resting on the welcome mat. William stepped forward cautiously, tapping the screen. He activated the speaker. Who is it? He asked. No response. He opened a panel beside the monitor and pressed a button. A small robotic arm outside the door extended and gently opened the box. Inside 2 things. A burned envelope and a flash drive. William returned with them moments later, placing both on the table between them. Amelia reached for the envelope first. Inside was a newspaper clipping, an old one, nearly yellowed through. Local woman feared dead in fire. Body not recovered. The date matched the night Clarissa disappeared. But in black marker, someone had circled the headline and scrawled across the front, "They never looked because he made them stop." Amelia turned to William slowly. What does that mean? His face was pale. I don't know. You had power back then, didn't you? She said. Even if you weren't famous yet, you had connections. Influence. He didn't answer. She inserted the flash drive into his laptop. A video loaded, grainy, filmed in secret. A girl, frail, hooded, looking directly into the camera. It was Clarissa. Alive, her voice, cracked and quiet, played through the speakers. He lied about the fire. He lied about what happened after. He let them cover it up. He let me burn. Amelia's blood turned to ice. Clarissa looked directly into the lens. And now he has her. Just like he had me. The screen cut to black. The room felt like it had shrunk. The moment Clarissa's face vanished from the screen, silence swallowed everything. The shadows seemed to grow thicker, the windows darker, and the air heavier. Amelia sat frozen in front of the laptop, her fingers still hovering near the keyboard. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her ears. "She's alive," she whispered. "She's really alive." William stood across the room, rigid and unmoving. His face was unreadable. But his silence screamed louder than any words could. Amelia turned to him, her eyes sharp with disbelief and fear. "You knew." He flinched. "You knew she survived, that she was out there." His lips parted, but nothing came. The weight of the unspoken truth sat between them like a wall of flame. "I suspected," he finally said, voice low, "but I didn't know. Not until now." Amelia didn't buy it. The video, the letter, the headline, all of it pointed to one thing: William Grayson had lied, or at the very least, buried the truth. She'd let him into her life, into her grief, and now she wasn't sure whether to trust him or run from him. She said, "You let them cover it up." Amelia said, almost accusingly, "That you let her burn." William closed his eyes as if the words physically struck him. "I didn't," he said. "I swear to you, I didn't start the fire. I didn't know she was alive. But yes, I was part of the cover-up." Amelia's breath caught. "You what?" He sank into a chair, rubbing his face with both hands. After the fire, everything spiraled. The press was circling, the police were getting involved, and there were whispers that Clarissa was part of something bigger. Something criminal. Like what? She was tied to a man named Thomas Wexler, an arms dealer. He used college towns to move shipments of illegal weapons. Clarissa got involved, probably without realizing the full weight of it, but by the time Angela found out, it was too late. Amelia blinked. "My mom was involved." "No," William said quickly. "But she was close enough to look guilty. And the fire, it erased everything. All evidence. When investigators started sniffing around, my lawyers got involved to protect Angela. And me. I didn't tell them to lie, but I didn't stop them from steering the investigation either." Amelia stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "You buried a fire that killed someone. You let them declare her dead?" "I thought she was dead." He snapped, and for the first time, his composure cracked. "You think I've slept in peace since then? I didn't protect her. I didn't protect Angela. And now I'm failing you." His voice broke. "I should have gone back, should have fought harder. But I ran, and now it's come back to destroy the one thing I never knew I had. You." Amelia looked down at her hands, clenched in her lap. Her mother had always been a mystery, a shadow wrapped in soft smiles and warm hugs. Now she understood why. Her mother had been hiding something. No, someone. Clarissa, and now Clarissa wanted vengeance. "She's watching us," Amelia said quietly. "Whoever sent the flash drive knew where we were. They knew we'd see it together." William nodded. "She's trying to break us apart." "It's working." That hurt him. She saw it in his face. But she couldn't stop herself. "I spent 16 years wondering who you were. My mother cried herself to sleep some nights, you know. I always thought it was about money or loneliness, but it was guilt." Tears filled her eyes. "And now I'm stuck in a storm that started before I was even born." William stood, walked over, and knelt beside her. For the first time, his voice wasn't polished or powerful. It was just human. "I can't undo what happened, but I can protect you now, if you let me." Amelia swallowed hard, emotion catching in her throat. "What happens next?" "We'll find Clarissa, and we find out what she wants." Amelia stared at the dark screen again. "She wants me to believe you're a monster." William exhaled. "Then we prove I'm not." Just as he said it, the power cut out. Everything went dark. The room, the lights, even the soft hum of the refrigerator disappeared in a breath. Amelia's chest tightened. Was that? The generator should have kicked in. William muttered. "Stay here." "No," she said immediately. "I'm coming with you." Together, they moved through the dark hallway lit only by faint emergency bulbs. The house groaned against the wind, and somewhere outside, an owl cried. They reached the basement door. William opened it slowly. The stairs descended into complete blackness. Then, from below, one sound, a woman's laugh, sharp, cold, familiar. Amelia gasped. William turned to her, eyes wide. "She's inside." The laugh echoed through the stairwell like the wind whistling through a hollow chest, haunting, feminine, and impossible to place in time. Amelia gripped the armrest of her wheelchair, so tightly her knuckles turned pale. William stood motionless, one hand braced against the doorframe, eyes locked on the blackness below. "I heard her," Amelia whispered. "That was her." William nodded once. His face had changed. Every feature sharp and jaw tight, eyes narrowed like a man stepping into a war he never finished. He reached into the coat closet and pulled out a heavy flashlight and a sleek black pistol from a locked case tucked behind an umbrella stand. Amelia's eyes widened. "You're armed." "I'm always armed," he muttered, switching on the flashlight. "In my world, trust is earned in blood." The glow sliced through the blackness below, illuminating the first few steps of the basement. Dust floated in the beam like tiny ghosts. The house creaked again, low and groaning. "I'm coming with you," Amelia said, wheeling forward. "No, stay up here," William said firmly. "If she's down there?" "She already knows I'm here," Amelia cut in. "If she wanted to hurt me, she could have done it already. She's playing a different game." He stared at her, torn between fear and respect. Finally he nodded. "Stay behind me." They descended slowly. Each step creaked under William's weight, the flashlight leading the way like a sword through fog. Amelia's chair moved awkwardly, one bump at a time down the smooth steel ramp built into the wall. Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed forward. Halfway down, the scent hit her. Smoke. Not fire, but old smoke. Ashes and something sweeter, like burned paper or singed fabric. It clawed at her throat. The basement opened into a wide, high-ceilinged room. Cold concrete walls lined with storage racks, computer servers, boxes, and old furniture. A single light bulb swayed in the center of the ceiling, dead. But it wasn't empty. Painted across the far wall in smeared, dark red letters were 3 chilling words. "Why you left me?" Amelia's breath caught. William raised the flashlight to the wall, revealing the last thing they expected, an old music box sitting on a table in the center of the room. Open. Playing. The delicate tinny notes drifted into the silence. Slow and distorted like a lullaby twisted into something sinister. Amelia wheeled closer, staring at it. "I remember that," she whispered. "My mother had one just like it." William approached slowly, gun drawn, checking the corners. "Angela told me Clarissa loved music boxes, used to collect them." Amelia reached toward the box with trembling fingers and closed the lid. Click. The room went dead silent. William turned back to her. "She was here. She left this for us." Amelia's eyes dropped to the floor, and saw it then. A photo. A black and white Polaroid of the same music box, but in flames. On the back, written in neat cursive, "I never stopped screaming. You just stopped listening." Suddenly, the server lights in the far corner of the room flickered on, then the screen of one of the monitors buzzed to life. A video file played automatically. Amelia and William turned together, watching the screen. Grainy footage appeared, an old camera in the corner of a hallway. A woman hunched and burned, limped down the corridor with a bag clutched in her arms. She turned toward the lens. Clarissa younger. Scarred. Alive? She set the bag down and looked directly into the camera. "This is my confession. I didn't die in the fire. But part of me wished I had. You want the truth, William. You're the reason I disappeared. You told Angela to choose. You gave her the money to run, but only if she left me behind. She did. She took the bag and went. I watched her leave me through the smoke." The screen glitched, and Clarissa's face pixelated. "I know about the girl. Amelia, she's yours, isn't she? Funny. You erased me to make a life with her. But the past doesn't stay buried. William." The video ended. Silence fell like a blade. Amelia looked at William, tears pricking her eyes. "Is it true? Did you make my mom choose between you and Clarissa?" William shook his head violently. "No, I gave her money to get both of them out. Clarissa refused to go. She said she'd never run. Angela was heartbroken. She begged her to come. She didn't leave her behind. Clarissa chose to stay. But she doesn't believe that?" Amelia said. "No," William whispered. "She believes I made her invisible." A noise echoed above them. Footsteps. They weren't alone. William lifted the flashlight toward the ceiling. Another sound, faint breathing, from the storage closet. He approached it slowly, weapon raised. Amelia stayed back, breath locked in her throat. William reached the door and yanked it open. Empty. Just old boxes. Dust. Until they saw it. A mirror. Taped to the inside of the door. And on it, written in red lipstick, "I'm not hiding anymore." Amelia wheeled forward and saw what was scrawled just below. "Tonight, we all burn again." She looked up at William, her voice cracking. She's not done. The air inside the house had changed. Not just chilled, but alive, pulsing with something electric and ancient, like the house itself remembered what had been buried. The writing on the mirror still dripped slowly, thick and crimson under the harsh flashlight beam. "Tonight, we all burn again." Amelia stared at the words. They curled at the edge of her mind like smoke from a fire long extinguished. She could feel it. Clarissa wasn't trying to hide anymore. She was drawing them in. One last game, one last reckoning. William locked the closet and turned to Amelia. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the fear he was trying to bury. "She's going to try to recreate the fire." Amelia blinked. "Here? In this house?" He nodded. "It's symbolic. This place is the safest structure I've ever built. She wants to destroy it, the same way she believes we destroyed her." Amelia rolled away from the mirror, her breath shaky. She was in this house walking these halls while we slept. She still could be, William replied, scanning the room. But more likely she's watching from a distance, manipulating, always staying one step ahead. They made their way back upstairs, Amelia's mind spinning. She couldn't shake the image of Clarissa, burned but alive, limping through that video like a ghost refusing to rest. And her mother. What would Angela say if she saw all this unraveling? Back in the living room, William activated his tablet, connecting to the security feed. Every camera around the property flickered to life. 3 perimeter breaches in the last hour, he murmured. 1 near the east woods, 1 at the back fence, 1 right near the garage. Amelia leaned forward. She's testing you. She's taunting me? No. Amelia said quietly. She's hurting. William looked up at her. She lost everything, Amelia continued. Her home, her friend, her identity. Whether she's right or wrong, she believes we left her behind. That kind of grief, it turns into something sharp. She's a danger to you. She could have killed me already. She hasn't. William nodded, conflicted. You think she wants something else. I think she wants to be seen. Just then, the lights flickered again. Not power loss, no. This was something else. A flickering image appeared on the massive living room television. Clarissa's face again, live, breathing, not a recording. She sat in a room lit by candles, her hair tied back, skin scarred on one side. Her expression wasn't cruel, it was calm, measured, resigned. Hello, William, she said. Hello, Amelia? Amelia froze. William stood completely still. You've been looking for answers. Clarissa continued. But there's only one left. You have to see it, you have to feel what I felt. The smoke. The flames. The silence. Her eyes burned into the camera. Come to the place it all began. Come alone. Or the past won't be the only thing that dies tonight. The screen cut to black. Silence. Amelia's heart slammed against her chest. She wants us to go back. William already knew. The old house. The one that burned down. But it's just a ruin now, Amelia whispered. Exactly. He pulled out a map from the drawer, unfolding it over the coffee table. The property was just outside town, abandoned for nearly 2 decades. The fire had destroyed everything, but not the memory. Not for Clarissa. We're going? Amelia said. William looked up sharply. Absolutely not. You said it yourself. She's not going to stop. She's escalating. And I'm the piece she's using to do it. If I go, maybe I can reach her. It's too dangerous. You don't get to decide anymore, she said, eyes sharp. You lost that right the day you let her disappear. He paused, then nodded slowly. Then we do it my way, he said. Surveillance. Backup, emergency responders on standby. No guns, Amelia added. If you show up armed, it's over. William exhaled. Fine. An hour later, they pulled up to the skeletal remains of the old house. Charred wood still jutted from the soil like broken ribs. The chimney stood alone, like a tombstone in the middle of the field. Everything else had been consumed by time and fire. Amelia rolled down the ramp from the car. Her wheels crunched softly against gravel and dry leaves. Moonlight bathed the scene in silver. Then, movement. From the ruins, a shadow emerged. Clarissa, older now, paler, wrapped in a long black coat, her posture tight like a coiled spring. She stepped into the moonlight, revealing her face fully for the first time, one half burned, the other untouched. Beautiful, tragic. I didn't think you'd come, she said, voice raw. Amelia swallowed. I needed to. The Clarissa's eyes flickered toward William, who stood just behind her. I said alone. I'm not leaving her, William said. Clarissa laughed bitterly. You never stayed when it counted. Then she stepped aside. Behind her was something unexpected, a small table, and on it, a shoebox. Burned around the edges, inside it ashes, and a single photograph. Clarissa looked at Amelia. Open it. Amelia rolled forward, hand trembling as she reached inside. She lifted the photo. It was her mother, Angela, holding a baby. Her. But next to Angela, smiling in the background, was Clarissa. The message scrawled beneath in faded ink. We were a family once. Until he tore it all apart. Amelia turned to William. And for the first time, she wasn't sure who to believe anymore. The photograph trembled in Amelia's hands as if the paper itself recoiled from the memory. Her mother, young, glowing, held her in fragile arms, a hint of exhaustion behind her smile. And there unmistakably stood Clarissa, closer than a friend, more than a shadow. Not just a roommate. Not just a mistake from the past. A family. Amelia felt the ground shift under her wheels. You were there when I was born, she whispered, her voice hoarse. Clarissa nodded, eyes glistening. I was the first one to hold you when Angela came home from the hospital. I used to sing to you at night. You cried unless I held your left hand. Always your left. Amelia blinked. Something about that detail unlocked a memory long buried. A sensation. Warmth, the voice humming faintly. Her infant body reaching out, left hand first. She looked at William. He looked stunned, speechless. I didn't know, he said. Angela never told me. Clarissa's expression sharpened. Because you chose not to know. You were already walking out the door. You'd made up your mind long before the fire. I gave her everything I had, William said, voice rising. I begged her to come with me. I offered both of you a future. Clarissa stepped forward, the firelight in her eyes returning. No, William. You offered Angela a future. You never once asked what I needed. You saw me as a problem, a burden, someone pulling her down. You made her choose. I gave her an escape, he growled. You gave her an ultimatum. The silence that followed was so thick it felt like fog rising from the ashes. Amelia's voice cut through it. Then who started the fire? Clarissa turned her gaze toward the ruined house behind her, the place where laughter once lived, where flames once danced. Her hands clenched. I did. The words fell like a stone into still water. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. I didn't mean to, Clarissa said quickly, her voice cracking. I lit a candle in my room. I needed light after a long blackout. I fell asleep. There were boxes stacked everywhere. A draft, a curtain caught. As she looked at her scarred hands, I woke up to smoke. By the time I tried to put it out, it was too late. The fire moved fast. Angela was screaming. I tried to grab my bag and run, but a beam fell. I was trapped. I thought I was going to die. But you got out, Amelia whispered. I crawled through the back pantry window. I don't know how I made it. I was burned, dizzy, but alive. And then I saw the ambulance taking Angela away. I saw William arrive. He stood there, stared at the house. But he never looked for me. William's voice dropped. Because I didn't know you were still there. I called, Clarissa said, from a stranger's phone. Told you I made it out. You didn't say who you were. Just whispered and hung up. I said your name. Clarissa's voice broke. I thought it was grief, delusion, William said. I thought I was losing my mind. Clarissa's shoulders fell, the weight of the years collapsing on her spine. No one came for me, she said softly. No one called. No one put up flyers. I was declared dead after 3 weeks. The ashes they buried weren't even human remains, just debris. But they let the story go. They wanted it gone. William stepped forward. I didn't want it gone. Then why didn't you find me? Clarissa asked, eyes filling. You had money, lawyers, a public name. You could have reopened the case. You could have told the world I was alive. William looked at Amelia, his hands open in surrender. Because I didn't know who I was without control. I built my empire by shutting doors on anything I couldn't fix. I failed you both. Clarissa exhaled, long and trembling. And then she looked at Amelia. I watched you grow up from a distance. First through news articles, then charity features, your piano recitals, your medical fund when your legs stopped working. I saw you become strong. Amelia wiped her eyes. I never knew I had 2 parents, let alone 2 people who should have fought for me, she said, voice shaking. All I ever had was silence. Clarissa kneeled in front of her, reaching out slowly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I never stopped loving you. I never stopped being your aunt. Amelia's lips parted. Aunt? The Clarissa looked at William. You never told her. He looked down in shame. Amelia's voice broke. You're my mom's sister. The Clarissa nodded. Angela and I weren't just roommates. We were half-sisters. Same mother. Different fathers. We grew up in the system, surviving. When she found you, you became both our second chance. The photograph made sense now. The closeness. The secret Angela never told her. Family. Amelia couldn't speak. She felt 16 years of confusion, grief, abandonment, and longing crash into her all at once. And beneath it, something strange and warm began to stir. Understanding. I don't want revenge anymore, Clarissa said quietly. I just wanted someone to see me. Amelia looked up at her slowly. I do. Behind them, the first drops of rain began to fall, hissing softly against the ash. But none of them moved. Because sometimes in the middle of ruins, something whole is born. The rain was steady now. A soft drizzle falling over the bones of the old house like a baptism. It soaked into the scorched earth, into the splintered beams and blackened stones as though it, too, was trying to wash away what had been buried for so long. Amelia sat quietly beneath the canvas shelter William had pulled from the car. She held the photo of her mother and Clarissa in her lap, her fingers tracing its burned edges. Each tear that fell from her eyes mingled with the rain. Not from pain. Not anymore. From release. Clarissa stood a few feet away, looking out over the ruins like she was watching the end of a war she never wanted to fight. William stood beside her silent. The 3 of them had said everything they could. The house behind them was no longer just a ruin. It was a grave, a confession, a memory finally spoken out loud, and now it could rest. Clarissa turned to Amelia. I'm going to disappear again. Amelia's head shot up. What? Why? Because I've been a ghost for so long I don't know how to live like a person anymore, she said, forcing a small smile, and because the media will come for this if I stay. They'll twist it. Hurt you with it. Amelia rolled forward. No, that's not your decision. Not anymore. Clarissa blinked, caught off guard. You spent 16 years hiding. Amelia continued, voice trembling with passion. I spent 16 years wondering. I deserve a chance to know who you were. Not the woman in the shadows. The real you. Clarissa knelt in front of her again. The rain slicked her coat, the scar on her face gleaming under the gray light. And you deserve to have peace. I'll never have peace if I have to lose you again, Amelia said. You were there when I was born. Be here now. Help me make sense of what I missed. William took a step closer. We can figure this out. Together. Clarissa looked between them. This man she once feared, this girl she once loved from a distance. And she nodded slowly. I don't know how to start, she whispered. Then start where it hurts. Amelia said. That's where healing lives. The wind blew through the trees, brushing past them like a sigh. A low rumble of thunder sounded in the distance. But it no longer felt like a warning. It felt like closure. 3 weeks later, the air inside the rehabilitation center smelled faintly of eucalyptus and fresh linens. Amelia wheeled herself down the bright hallway, a small gift bag resting in her lap. She passed nurses and patients, most of whom nodded warmly as she passed. She stopped at the open doorway of room 217. Clarissa sat near the window, her burns healing in careful stages, her coat replaced with a soft cardigan. She was sketching something with charcoal on thick paper. Her hand moved with purpose and grace, like it had missed the feeling of creating. Amelia knocked gently. Clarissa looked up, and for the first time in weeks, her expression wasn't guarded. It was hopeful. You came? I told you I would. Amelia smiled, rolling into the room. Clarissa nodded toward the sketch. You want to see? The sketch showed 2 women standing under a broken roof, arms linked. Between them, a child sat in a wheelchair smiling. No names, no labels, just family. I started drawing again, Clarissa said softly. They say it helps with trauma. But really, I think it helps with truth. Amelia handed her the gift bag. Inside, an old music box repaired. Restored. Clarissa stared, her hands trembling slightly as she opened the lid. The melody spilled out, soft, sweet, not warped this time. I found it in what was left of the house, Amelia said. I had it fixed. Clarissa smiled for the first time without pain. Thank you. They sat together in silence for a while, the music filling the space between them like the echo of something sacred. Then Amelia asked, Do you want to come with me this weekend? Clarissa looked puzzled. Where? Amelia smiled. To the cemetery. I'm visiting Mom. Clarissa hesitated. I haven't been there since. I know, Amelia said gently. But she'd want you there. She always did. Clarissa looked away, her eyes clouded. I dream about her sometimes. We're kids again. Sitting on that rooftop, talking about the future. I never imagined this would be it. She forgave you a long time ago, Amelia said. She just didn't know how to tell you. Clarissa turned back to her, eyes wet. And you? Amelia reached out and held her aunt's hand. I'm still learning how, she whispered, but I'm trying. The Clarissa squeezed her hand, and together they listened to the soft tune playing from the box. Epilogue 1 year later, the headstone glistened beneath the morning dew. Fresh daisies sat in a small vase. 2 women stood beside it, one leaning on a cane, the other in a sleek, custom wheelchair with brushed silver rims. A third figure approached behind them, William, holding 3 cups of coffee in a paper bag. Breakfast from that terrible diner you love, he announced. Amelia grinned. It's not terrible, it's authentic. Clarissa chuckled. Still better than that protein shake you used to make me drink. William raised an eyebrow. I still drink it. Clarissa rolled her eyes. That explains everything. They all laughed, real, full laughter. The kind that echoes in bones and reminds you that you're still alive. Amelia turned to her mother's grave. I'm okay now, she said. I found them. I found me. The breeze carried her words like a blessing, and for the first time, she didn't feel broken. She felt whole. She felt home.
Sometimes, the smallest hands hold the heaviest truths. She came to his door with nothing but tears and 3 words that shattered his heart. In that moment, he realized life isn't measured by what we earn, but by the love we choose to give before it's too late.